All right, joining us right now is AccuWeather lead hurricane expert Alex De Silva. Alex, quickly here, the new update coming in from the National Hurricane Center, and we were talking about the chaotic movement, but oftentimes in these very poorly organized storms, the center of circulation can jump around a little bit.
Yeah, and indeed it has. It's already done that before in its life cycle, and it looks like the center has jumped north here over the last 6 hours or so. So the center, it doesn't like to be exposed. It likes to be underneath some convection. So sometimes when you have a big blowup of convection like we did overnight on the northern side of the storm, it kind of likes to get underneath that because that can allow the storm to strengthen. So we saw a little bit of a jump to the north here over the last 6 hours or so, but you know, I do stress some caution that we could see that center jump around a little bit more, especially since this storm, like you mentioned, is so disorganized and is slow moving. The movement of the storm can be a little bit chaotic here over the next couple of days. So we'll just have to watch to see if that's more of a trend or if that's just a little bit of a jump.
That jump north, though, doesn't exactly put it in more favorable conditions for development because, as we've been talking about all week, 15 degrees north, that's the line that goes through Nicaragua and Honduras and then separates the windward from the Leeward Islands and the Lesser Antilles. Once you get north of 15 degrees north, closer to Jamaica, you have a lot of dark purple. That means higher wind shear, and that's what's stopping Melissa from getting better organized.
Yeah, indeed you do. I mean, look at all this dark purple across the northern Caribbean right now. And if the center did jump north, which it looks like it did, that's actually going to put it in a little bit stronger wind shear, at least in the short term. We do think that starting later today, the wind shear should begin to decrease a little bit. And then certainly over the weekend, that's when we really expect the wind shear to decrease. And that's why the forecast still calls for this to rapidly intensify over the weekend or early next week, somewhere in the vicinity of Jamaica.
Now, the concern we've already had, and we've really been talking about this since September, we were afraid if anything could get into the Caribbean, we'd have a huge problem because these are the water temperature anomalies, Alex. So that's about, 3 to 5 degrees above historical average. Historically, we're usually looking at around 84, 85 degrees, right?
Yeah, indeed you are. But we're looking at temperatures now in the mid to upper 80s. And it's not just the sea surface temperatures, it's the ocean heat content, how deep that water extends. Normally, if this storm was outside of the Caribbean and it was moving so slowly, the hurricane would be able to mix up some cooler waters to the surface, which could actually weaken the storm. But we don't think that's going to be much of the case with this one, even though it's moving so slowly, because there's so much deep warm water that even though the future hurricane is expected to move so slowly, it's just going to be replaced, that water, with just even more warm water that's underneath the surface. So I don't think what we call upwelling, that water coming to the surface, is going to have much of an impact on the eventual intensity of the storm, which is why we still do expect this to become a major hurricane despite the slow motion of the storm.
That jump to the north has kind of kept us saying, well, that northeast track, that north track, the American modeling is still showing that. No one has really believed that here in the office, but it still keeps it a little on the possible side. So that's why we have that far east window between Jamaica and Haiti as we head toward the weekend. But right now we're going in between that outlier and then the outlier to the south and west, which would say more of a west track, keeping it further south of Jamaica.
Yeah, but certainly a more northern shift here in the short term would be a little bit more concerning for Jamaica, I think. So we're going to have to watch these trends for the rest of the day today and into tomorrow. Is the center going to jump around more, or is this going to be a trend that continues? We'll have to see, but certainly a more northern trend in the short term could mean that Jamaica could potentially be more in the crosshairs for more of a direct hit from this storm as it moves closer. So we're just going to have to watch and see over the next couple of days. But nevertheless, again, we still do want to stress that we still do expect this to become a major hurricane this weekend or early next week.
Jamaica, Cuba. I mean, that just the preponderance of evidence suggests that's the landing spot. But we still can't rule out a close encounter. Although very unlikely, we still can't rule out a close encounter with the Keys in South Florida.
Yeah, I think the way that would happen is the storm would have to get pretty far west. It would have to hang more on the western side of the cone. It's still possible, so we still need to watch for it. But I think the chances are pretty low of an East Coast hit. But nevertheless, there are some scenarios that take the storm further west into South Florida or even into portions of the East Coast of the United States, mid-Atlantic states. So I think there's very few models showing that, which is why we think that a track off the East Coast is most likely. Still going to be close enough to bring big-time waves and dangerous rip currents. But right now, the preponderance of evidence shows that the storm should stay off the East Coast, but we still need to keep a close eye out on it.
Really quickly, we're going to show the impacts. The rain. Haiti. More about the rain than the wind, unless it takes that turn to the north. And we may be updating these rainfall totals, Alex, to get more rain in Jamaica if it takes that track. And then, I mean, there is the real problem with the major hurricane, with the winds from Jamaica toward Cuba. So huge impacts, devastating impacts here. Jamaica into Cuba moving forward. AccuWeather lead hurricane expert Alex De Silva. Alex, thanks for joining us here on AccuWeather Early.